times.
60s.
Um, so one thing about what we're about to do is I will give you a bit of a fire hose of information, right? Um, Couple things though, we will have four principles that we will go over obnoxiously, and you can have access to the recording. And so, one thing that you'll find is if you take this information, listen to it, try and apply it. If you come back and listen to it again, you'll hear things you never heard the first time, and it will make sense to you, even if it didn't make sense to you the first time because you try to apply it, right? So what you do is you bounce back and forth. You learn it, applied it, learn it, applied it. Does that make sense? And so you can take the same information we're going to go over today, and you can use it for months, just reviewing it, applying it, reviewing it, applying it. So, a little bit about my background. I live in Northern California. My name is Steve Keller. Right? I love helping people with their emotional and physical health. And I've been doing that in one form or another for about 30 years. Both my parents were um, very holistic in their approach, very outside the box in their approach. And it was actually my father. You know, when my wife and I first got pregnant, he's like, "You should question this whole vaccine schedule. How many, like 70-year-old dudes are out there?" So my parents were very ahead of their time. My father died last year, February. He was 92, but for much of his life, well into his 80s, he shot his age and golf score. And my mom, when I was young, uh, oh, who wants to hear the full story of how my mom beat terminal cancer with all the details? Anybody like that? There's some important lessons in it. And so my mom, when I was a very young kid, she goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "You have breast lymphatic and uterine cancer. If you don't do exactly what I tell you to do, you will be dead in 6 months." And why do doctors have to control and manipulate to that degree? And so, thankfully, my mother, although that was a bit of a curse, my mother didn't simply swallow that. She walked into the smallest church the first church she could find, and she asked God. She goes, well, "For me, what do I do?" Right? Not because it's dangerous when we treat every situation as a cookie cutter thing. People need to sometimes you should do things differently. Right? And she felt that she's supposed to buy a book called One Answer to Cancer by Dr. William Kelly. She got very serious about nutrition. And she also got very serious about understanding what faith is, what divine healing is. If you're interested, a fascinating book to read on this subject is Christ the Healer by someone named F. F. Bosworth. That's just the two initials, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, Bosworth, Bosworth. One of the most thorough books I've read on any subject. And my mom says that book probably saved her life. Anyways, so she got serious about nutrition and she started building her faith. And you know, faith is believing and having your emotions line up with what you're believing for, as if it is an accomplished fact before it shows up. If that makes sense. And in it, so then the concept would be, I believe I have no cancer. Does that make sense? Like I'm already there, right? And one of the helpful things, she didn't tell anyone except my dad she had cancer. And one of the helpful things was she was honest. Does that make sense? She's like, I know that's what I'm supposed to believe, but I don't actually believe that. And so then she asked herself a very simple question, which again also probably saved her life. Um, pen and paper, yes. So the question she asked herself was, what could I believe? What could I believe? And I'm putting Christ the Healer. I'm going to put the name of this book into the chat. All right. So she asked herself, what could I believe? And she thought for a second, right? Because if you're in faith, your emotions line up with your vision, right? So she thought for a bit. She goes, "Ooh, I know." She goes, "I could believe that two cancer cells at a time are continuously healing themselves in their body. She goes, I could believe that. So she grabbed a hold of that and she played a game called Spiritual Spud, or Hot Potatoes, this game where you don't touch something for very long. So she was extraordinarily deliberate in not allowing any thought or emotion that wasn't in alignment with healing to stay with her very, very long. Does that make sense? So that's alignment. We're going to talk a little bit about alignment. Do you want to build a great business? Work on being aligned, right? So she grabbed a hold of that and she wouldn't allow anything else but that to be something she meditated on. She did that for, about 5 years. And one day, um, they walked into church and the pastor of the church said, "Oh, you didn't tell me you had cancer while we were sitting here praying. I saw an angel come and take something out of your body." Interesting. And she goes, all the symptoms left. She goes, but it would seem like they would keep trying to come back. Does that make sense? And she's like, what is the deal? And then she realized that she has a lot of unforgiveness towards her stepmom, right? And so low emotions make a place for things you don't want in your life, right? So when she got rid of the unforgiveness towards her stepmom, it stuck, right? And now she's 92. That was a long time ago. Um, so today we want to talk a little bit about something called flow or divine flow. And so I spent 30 years in network marketing, the people helping people business to survive. Sometimes people say it's like a personal development course with a paycheck attached, right? So, which is great and frustrating at the same time, because if you don't go through the personal development, your paycheck reflects that, right? But there's beauty in it to become a better version of yourself. And by the way, it took me, although I have great success in the last few years, it took me 13 years to figure out how to do this business. So sometimes when I give you advice, it's because I know it doesn't work because I did that for a long time. So I went through that. I also learned how to muscle test. Muscle test is just a yes or no response from your body as to whether something is good and accurate or bad and negative. And you can use muscle testing. It's like kind of a quantum-based Google for answers, and it's freaking effective. And in that, I started I developed a coaching business, helping people kind of muscle testing and track down energetic issues and test them. I spent a lot of time actually working with them in consciousness, which we'll go through a little bit. And in it, one day, I was actually driving for Uber and I was listening to different books and I downloaded and listened to a book called Stealing Fire. Stealing Fire is what it was called. And the book was quite fascinating. And it was the first time I'd heard someone talk about flow state, right? Flow state. Kinesiology is sometimes applied kinesiology, Daniel. That's sometimes what people call it. So flow state, because this is in terms of performance, human performance, flow state is something in the past 10, 15 years that's quite popular. Okay. So this gentleman, Stephen Kotler, is quite interesting. He started off, he was a journalist and he got a job for ESPN covering the X Games, right? So he's covering people who are doing these crazy things like, sometimes you see people pull off these moves on their bikes, ski board, snowboard, and you're like, that's insane. How did you do that? And what he noticed was that what one year people might say, yeah, bro, don't do that, you'll die. Like a year or two later, the 12-year-olds are doing it. He's like, how can you have that dramatic improvement in performance? Does that make sense? It fascinated him. And he really started looking into it. And he kind of quantified it a little bit. And as he described it, so um, flow state is one way to describe it is It's how to tap into an ecstatic state. Okay. And the way I would describe it is when things are easier and more abundant. Right? And you'll notice we all have an affinity for flow state. What do I mean? Well, why do you think professional sports are so popular? You see some guy do something, you're like, oh my God, that was insane. And he made it look easy. Interesting. That's a very important word. And he made it look easy. You go to this classical, symphony, concerto, something, and it's like what they're doing is like mind melting. And they made it look fun and easy, right? And so we're like, we really, really like that. So flow is a state where things look easier and the result is exponentially higher. So if you're talking about uh, like executive performance, one thing they would say is executives, business leaders who get into and maintain flow are 400 to 500% more effective than anybody else, right? Yeah, we live in a world where if you're 30% more effective, you can have you can be the leader. Does that make sense? Well, how about 400 to 500% more? And then you look at executive compensation and you're like, oh, well, no wonder then, if someone can be 400 to 500% more effective as the leader, then it makes a dramatic impact on the bottom line. So um, the interesting thing for me, so when I heard him talk about the four states of flow, which we'll go over ad nauseum, don't worry, I realized so muscle testing is kind of an ecstatic state, right? It's so you're tapping into something and it looks insane. Like, how could you do that? For example, I muscle tested a guy once. He was dealing with cancer. I'm like, hey, let me muscle test you, see if there's any emotional stuff. And I just went on a chart, yes, no. I'm like, well, I think you have a heart wall of overwhelm at age 23 in the fall. He was in his 60s. So those are four parameters. And that's pretty specific, right? And I go, do anything come to mind, or am I just making something up? He's like, oh, he goes, you're accurate. He goes, at age 23 in the fall, I was working for the CIA and I was in Cuba and I killed someone for the first time and it was very overwhelming, right? That's crazy that you could do something like that. Well, I believe everyone has that built-in ability. Does that make sense? But most people don't tap into that. We'll call it an static state or ability. Why? Because they don't quite understand how to get there. Well, how do you get there? Understanding flow, right? So what Jamie Cutler would say is like, why the snowboarder able to do this crazy move? I would say it has also very intimately involved with um, how someone can muscle test effectively as well, right? There are commonalities in it, right? So if we're talking about business, it's like, oh, why does building a business look easy for some people? And for me, I've just been beating my head against the wall and nothing ever goes anywhere. Does that make sense? Well, what I want to tell you is there's commonalities. Does that make sense? Is this helpful so far? Somebody give me some thumbs up, right? So for me personally, I have there is a large difference. Okay. So I don't know if you know, like I don't hide it. Like I'm a Christian, and when I say Christian, that means I believe in a God of unconditional love who loves me unconditionally and has never been disappointed in me. That's my definition. Okay. So when I looked at his four states of flow, for me, it looked very much like what we call God's kingdom. Well, what is God's kingdom? God's way of doing and being, where things are beautiful and abundant and they flow. Does that make sense? And so as we're going to talk about flow today, that's why I call it divine flow, because we're going to bring in some spiritual principles. And I think that this makes it dramatically easier to operate in flow because one of the first steps to flow, and anyone want to know the four steps? Well, here's what we're going to do. Selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. Don't worry, we will repeat it a million times. And we'll give you some ways to remember it: selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. Uh, I had this interesting experience years ago. I was doing a lot of training on flow, and you talk for an hour and a half about flow, and people be like, "Was awesome." I'm like, "Cool." I go, "So what are the 4 steps to flow?" And they're like, um, um, like, "Oh my God!" Like we just spent an hour and a half together, and you thought it was amazing, but you don't remember anything, right? So we're going to give you. I realize we have to integrate your physical body and repeat things. So, so selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. And these are often in a row. They don't have to be in a row and in order, but it helps. Okay. So what we're going to do as we talk about this over and over and over, I found that um, using kind of motions with my physical body help people remember it, right? So here we go. Selflessness. Take these 2 fingers, put it on your heart, right? Like what I'm worth, where do I get it from? What I'm worth, God tells me what I'm worth. God's divine love for me is the definition of that. So we go, this is what I'm worth, right? Selflessness. Timelessness means, yeah, the time, I own my own life and I own my own time, right? Timelessness, right? Effortlessness. Go like this, as if you're super frustrated. When things are super frustrating, I realize actually it could be easy, right? And richness means like above all, even if I don't have to do things perfectly to receive, like my ability to have beautiful things come into my life isn't based on what I'm doing or not doing, right? It's like I like God loves me and decided that I'm qualified, right? So selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness. That makes sense? So we're going to go through these kind of bit by bit. And what I find in life is I find if I look at a basic principle, if I can bring in different language from different directions, I'll start understanding it better. Does that make sense? Right? So one thing we can do is and let me bring this up. All right. So one thing I'm going to do is we're going to talk briefly about the map of consciousness. Anyone know what the map of consciousness is? Anyone ever heard of this? Well, we're going to talk about it. So the map of consciousness is this document right here, right? So um, years ago, when I just first started learning how to do muscle testing, my mentor said to me, she goes, you can measure that with muscle testing on the map of consciousness and then change it. I'm like, the what? And the more I studied this, I'm like, oh my God. So here's one principle in life. Anything that you can measure, you can improve. Does that make sense? Anything you can measure, you can improve because you get clarity, right? Sometimes, you know what is sometimes super helpful in improving your health or diet or fitness? Just measure actually what you're eating that with no judgment, no goal. Does that make sense? Just go, I can eat whatever I want to. All I'm going to do is measure it. Interesting. Anything you measure typically improve. You know, you have a business. Okay, cool. Do you know the metrics of your business? Well, I'm not sure. That's a problem. Does that make sense? So this document here is from a book called Power versus Force, right? And what it does is it takes different levels of consciousness and it quantifies them. Right. So here, think about this, okay? Think about if you are moderately intuitive and you walk into a room full of a bunch of people you've never met before, right? and you get in this room, and the first person you start talking to, you're like, you know, I'm pretty sure this dude's probably a serial killer. Like you get like serious serial killer vibes off him. Like you're like, nice to meet you. Gotta go. Bye. Right. So what this guy down here, right? The next lady you meet, you're like, mm, love her. Like I want her to be my new best friend, my grandma, whatever. Does that make sense? You're like, oh, I like instantly like, mm, amazing, right? So we'll put that guy down here. We'll put her up here, right? So you have certainly differentiated them. You see what I mean? But you haven't exactly quantified them. You follow me so far? So what the map of consciousness does, it actually does quantify things. And it's from a book called Power versus Force by David Hawkins. Okay. And what you'll notice, there's on the very bottom, each thing has a level. On the very bottom is a level of shame of 20. And each level has a God view, life view, emotion, and process to it. Okay. So it goes from 20 at the bottom to 700 to 1,000 at the top. And um, so one of the things to understand, if we break this down in an extremely simple way, is this. You can go through life, business, relationships, whatever, in one of two ways. You can operate in force or you can operate in power. Okay? When I operate in force, the very basics of it is um, when I operate in force, my value and my identity, what I'm worth, how I see myself, are dependent on three metrics. How am I performing? What do people think of me? How do institutions honor me? How am I performing? What do people think of me? How do institutions honor me? You understand there don't actually have much control over any of those. And so your fundamental value is always for grabs and tenuous. And that's crazy stressful. Does that make sense? So if I operate in force, I can get some things done, but I push on life and life pushes back. I can get some things done, but there's a lot of collateral damage. Does that make sense? A lot of stress, right? Maybe you know some people who are very successful in business, but if you looked at their life, they do it in force. Congratulations, Bob, you're worth $300 million and you're on your third marriage and you're an alcoholic and the majority of your children are in rehab and don't talk to you. But good for you. See what I mean? And he works himself to death and he never has any peace. See what I mean? Right. Or if you shift and you operate in power, the fundamental difference is that you have shifted your value and your identity to allowing God's unconditional love define it. So if that's true, and we'll go into this in depth, if that's true, then my value is the same yesterday as it will be tomorrow. It's the same this morning as it will be tonight, right? Because it doesn't change. It's like eternal, right? And one of the defining things that allows me to do is allows me to be very wholehearted in life. What does that mean? I am going to go for it. Guess what? You'll still fail. Failure still hurts, but failure can no longer bring shame on you, right? So if you want to know, the interesting thing is sociologists when they study people and they go, okay, who's had like a good life, right? You know, Teo's like 93 years old and someone's interviewing him and you're like, wow, you've had like a really good life. He's like, I have had an amazing life. You know what? One of the main characteristics he'll relate that he had a wholehearted life. He was willing to go for it. He failed often, but he never backed down and he came back. Does that make sense? Right? Being wholehearted means you are the first person to be willing to say, I love you to the other person in the relationship, even though they might not say it back. Right? And one of the things to understand about this is how, unless you get this identity piece handled, you'll always be vulnerable to shame. Okay. And shame is an incredibly controlling thing, right? Um, Shame means what you're doing or not doing makes you worth less. Okay. And ultimately, if you operate at that level for too long, you start getting disconnected from community and connection. Right. And we have a fundamental need to be connected, to be in community, because we know if we don't have that, then you're going to die. Does that make sense? Right. So what you will see, um, here's an example. Sometimes you look at people who are in cults and what they believe, and you're like, how? Like, what are you thinking? Does that make sense? That like, how could you even believe that? Well, what happens? The cult creates amazing community and connection, which we all really want. Does that make sense? You're like, oh, I'm part of something. I love it. We have deep connection, community. We're all in this together, right? And then they go, oh, by the way, if you want to stay in this community, here's what you're going to have to believe and do. And you're like, it's a little weird, but okay, okay, right? Now, how does the cult maintain control? They're like, ooh, you step out of line, you they maintain cohesion, right, through guilt and shame. And you see that in business, maybe your boss is psychotic, right? If you don't do things right, you're like, oh my God, I could get fired. Right? Anyways, but that's not the what we're talking about is if we can understand this, is like how much better to operate at the top of the map of consciousness in, in power. You could call it also in flow. Does that make sense? So is this helpful to kind of look at things from a couple different directions, right? So I want to kind of give you an understanding of why we go so much into the first step of selflessness, right? Because it's the foundation to being able to operate in flow and empower, right? Um, I will 100% tell you, I work with a lot of people with their health. Um, for most people with chronic health issues, the main driver is that they've never gotten this handled, right? And they're under tremendous stress, and their physical body interprets this stress as like danger and shuts their immune system off. And you can take all the supplements in the world, but you're never getting better. Does that make sense? Why? Here's how to describe it. For many people, the fear of other people's opinions is the modern saber-toothed tiger, right? Most people aren't actually in danger of getting eaten this afternoon. Right? But maybe you're going to disappoint yourself. Maybe you're going to disappoint your wife. Maybe business isn't as good. Does that make sense? It's like, oh, I'm not worth anything anymore. If I stay not worth anything for long enough, it's like potentially fatal. Does that make sense? Any questions so far on this? Power versus force. It's an interesting book. I don't agree with all of it, but it is a fascinating concept. Now, here's an interesting thing from power versus force, which is in alignment with flow state, right? So, what does research say that if you are in flow, you're 4 to 500% more effective than everyone else, right? What is the power? So if you see the numbers on the middle of the map of the consciousness from 20 to 700 to 1,000, those are they're logarithmic numbers. What does that mean? It means that one person who operates very effectively in power um, impacts not just his family, his community, his business. Like what you'll see historically is people who operate in power shift whole countries. You understand? And this is the way it's always been. So one person who can get up there and operate up there, you're influencing everybody, right? One thing I'll often tell my coaching clients, I go, look, if you learn how about flow and power and you start operating more in power, I go, here's the interesting thing. Everybody will treat you differently. And they'll come back and go, you're right. My dad is respectful of me. This is like people treat me differently. Does that make sense? It's interesting because here's the thing: if you are in power, guess what? You're in charge. Right? You're the dominant frequency in any environment. Interesting, right? Well, what most people do, they operate in force and they run around like this. They're mean to me. Like, yeah, probably. And we're not putting shame on anybody, but it's like, yeah, you're a magnet for jerks. The good news is you could change. Instead of going, those people are jerks, go, don't worry about those people. Like, you can't change the people. You can change yourself, and now you're in charge. And that will be much more relaxing. Right. So, again, let's go back. What are the 4 steps to flow? Selflessness. What does that mean? My value and my identity are dependent on unconditional love, selflessness, timelessness, right? Day to day, what I'm doing and not doing, I make the decision. I don't operate under pressure, right? Selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness. When I get frustrating, I don't keep moving forward mindlessly. I go, this could be easier, right? And above all, richness. Like I connect what is in my life to just receiving things because it's all good, and I don't have to go, well, did I do enough? Did I earn it? Do I deserve it? It's like the selflessness part decided I was worth it. So yeah, sure, easy. Does that make sense? Easy, right? Who wants a simple hack for flow? You want a very simple hack? That's going to sound a little weird, right? Here's a simple hack. So one of the simplest ways to do muscle testing, it's called a sway test. Right? So you stand and you close your eyes and you make a statement or you hold something against your body. And if it's good and safe and a yes, you'll feel yourself want to kind of like lean forward a bit. Does that make sense? Right? And if it's wrong, bad, false, you'll feel yourself slowly move away from it. Right? So here's a very simple hack because understand that we're all integrated, spirit, soul, body. You understand that? And it's all up and down, up and down. Does that make sense? Right? Your physical body is connected to your emotions, your organs, everything's connected, right? So here's a very interesting hack. You go into your kitchen, you grab some healthy fat, Kerrygold butter, avocado oil, something healthy fat, right? And you hold it against your chest and you simply say, my body can digest and absorb this. Interesting. It's a yes or it's a no, right? If it's a yes, you're good at receiving the fatty stuff in life. Digesting, absorbing healthy fat is super important. It impacts your hormones, your ability to hydrate, like everything. Does that make sense? Right? But guess what? Your liver gallbladder that's kind of responsible for that. That's where you store a lot of your negative emotions, especially anyone want to guess the shame that's often stored there? It's guilt and shame, right? So this is one simple way to sort of gauge yourself energetically. How am I doing? How's my level of consciousness, my flow state? Can I receive things? Like, is life good and abundant? Or am I like, see what I mean? It's just a great way to just, without having to be like a masterful at muscle testing, it's a simple way to do it, right? So let's talk about, and my wife is thinking about walking in. She may grace us with her presence, and then you'll want to hear more from her and less from me. But so let's talk about the 4 states and get a little bit more into it. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the headphones if she's going to come sit next to me. Everyone say hi. One of the problems, though, that I've just all right.
Say hello.
Hi.
This is my wife. One of the beautiful things about us that you'll notice is we are extremely different. Okay. And that's very helpful because if we're talking about a subject, you will get a certain perspective from me. But we talked about how if you can look at things differently, you'll get an entirely different perspective from her. Right. So, um, so we're partners in life and business, and often people they've met her before, and I show up somewhere, they're like, "Oh, hey, Steve, um, is your wife? Did you bring your wife?" Because because she's very good at making people feel good about themselves. So let's go into a little bit more detail. And please, as we're doing this, would love to um, have people ask questions as we're doing this. Hi, Betty. All right. So, so selflessness, right? Here's the interesting thing. Having clarity on where you get your value is the most important clarity in the world, really. Does that make sense? It's the most important thing to be clear on. Where do I get my value? What tells me what I'm worth? One of the things that we're talking about performance, who knows what the biggest, most reliable driver in human performance is? Hands down, nothing else is even close. Anyone know? What's the biggest driver in human performance? It's to operate 100% in alignment with your identity. The biggest driver in human performance is to operate 100% in alignment with your identity. So if I go, what tells you where do you get your value? What tells you what you're worth? And you're not sure, then now your identity has been created entirely by accident and randomly, influenced by things that shouldn't be influencing you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, can you connect the dots between being selfless and being productive? And I know you just did, but maybe in a more,
Sure. So, uh, productive, I mean, I would say, oh, I'm getting stuff done, and the more stuff I get done, the more I'm worth, right? Is that what you meant?
exactly. So this is basically a chain that can be yanked to pull you out of flow. If you are constantly trying to get your self-worth right, you're trying to justify yourself, trying to figure out, trying to feel good about yourself, nothing you do is going to be for other people.
Yeah. And so this is one reason why the four steps to flow are all super connected because selflessness is followed by anybody. What's the next one? Do the motion. I can see some of you. The next motion, your wrist, because it's timelessness, right? So most people in life, they wake up in the morning and they simply wait for the first thing to boss them around and tell them what to do with their time, and then they're off the races. Most people, when they decide what they're doing and not doing, they operate with vocabulary like this. Man, I really have to do this. I should. I must. Right? Have to, should, must, have to, should, must, have to, should, must. And I'm always under pressure, right? Things are always trash talking me. You better do this. If you don't do this, you're a loser, right? Faster, more. Does that make sense? So what happens is I wake up and I have no authority in my life, right? Something bossing me around. What? Because here's the interesting thing. All these voices and all these pressure in my life, they can exert pressure and they have a voice in my life because I have allowed them to tell me what I'm worth, right? Oh, look at the scale. You've gained a pound. Look at your bank account. You suck. You should do something about that, right? So here's the thing. Um, anything that can tell you what you're worth, it owns you. I'll repeat that. Anything that can tell you what you're worth, it owns you. Can you be a powerful person in flow if you are owned and controlled and manipulated by outside forces? I don't know if you can you hear that dog barking? Is it, I always use my, always use my Australian Shepherd as the definition for homelessness. Why? So he is wonderful dog. Love him. He is super smart and he is bred to boss things around. Right? Does that make sense? He's bred to bossy. He needs a job, right? Always, always in charge. I swear to you, my dog evaluates every person who comes into my home as whether or not he's smarter than them and can take advantage of them, right? So this dog, he's amazing, but it takes like next level leadership. Like I have the Australian Shepherd. We also have a Golden Doodle. Golden Doodle, he sprints to obey like instantly. Like the Australian Shepherd, he's like, "Mm." So here's a great example. Um, when you have a dog that likes to be bossy, and this is a good example for life. If I've had like more stronger breeds, like bully breeds, like pit bull type dogs, and you need to bring your dog ownership level and up skills. Why? Because you must maintain authority over these animals. If you don't, they can be dangerous, right? And so there's a principle, dog training principle for those type of dogs, and it's called NILF. NILF, nothing in life free, nothing in life free. It means at every point of the interaction, you exert your authority over this animal and you don't ever give them any leeway. For example, um, we're in the house, we go to leave the house. 1 million times my dog wants to go out of the door first. He's like, oh, we're going, right? Mm, nope, I'm in charge. I go first, right? Now remember, he's a super smart dog, very smart. Has he ever learned? I have squished his head between my knee and the door frame 5 million times. Has he ever learned that he does not go? He's not at not once ever. I have to exert. Now, I don't have to yell and scream, right? Power doesn't have to, it's calm and confident. Does that make sense? I'll go to the door. I'll hold on to the door handle. He'll be like, okay, let's go, let's go. I don't do anything. I just look down at him. He's like, oh crap, I forgot. He'll sit down. Does that make sense? I'll go out the door, see if he moves before I tell him to. I'm like, no, no. He's like, till he calms down. Does that make sense? He's like, okay, okay, you're in charge. I'm like, now we can proceed. Does that make sense? So in this timelessness, pay very careful attention to the energy with which you are doing things in life. Are you operating under pressure? Right? You won't be in flow. You might get some things done, but it'll cost you. Selflessness, timelessness. Here's a great one. One of the major things in life is you gotta be super good at solving problems, right? Solving problems in flow state and in power will be dramatically easier than solving them in force, right? Here's one thing I learned from one of my mentors, and write this one down. Tranquility breeds creativity. Tranquility breeds creativity, right? So this man, he had a very large church and ministry, and he said, when I have problems in my ministry, he goes, guess what the number one step is? First step, he goes fishing. You're like, oh, you can't go fishing. You have to, must, should be in your office worried about this. That's irresponsible going fishing. Interesting. Why? Because we've all normalized operating in force. We've all normalized letting everything tell us what to do, right? He goes, no, no. He goes, when I'm on the fishing boat, I'll receive divine wisdom because I'm in charge and I have expectation of something beautiful coming. See what I mean? Right. I would so love to tell you that I learned this lesson once and it stuck. I just, if only, if only I haven't had to learn this lesson over and over. Like sometimes I'm like my Australian Shepherd, like, oh yeah, I forgot. Right.
That's what I was actually thinking about this morning as I was thinking about what we want to convey and communicate about what we've learned with flow. And I would say the quicker you can stop and return to flow, the more results you're going to have, right? And so I think that a lot of times we go to learn and master a skill so that we can then move on to the next skill. And I think that's a good, you know, philosophy, but I think a better philosophy is how quickly can you remember what it feels like to be in these places of selflessness, of effortlessness, timelessness. Like these, the quicker you can come back to it. And so if we can share with them today a few little tips on how to quickly return, I think that's going to be just a huge impact, right?
Yeah.
And so at any given moment, you can return. You can do the hand signals if that's helpful for you. You can ask some simple questions, and we'll go into this a little bit more after you go through the next step,
Yeah.
right? But when I think about what we've learned and how we've grown, depending on what season you're in, you'll have more opportunities to remember to return.
Very true. Well, here's how I think that's a great idea. And we're going to give you some very practical, who likes the super practical things, right? So, what I want to do in this context, because everything works together, I want to give you who wants the simple steps of how to very quickly get out of anxiety and depression and back into peace and joy and flow super fast, right? And when I say super fast, I had a client who would have 200 beat per minute heart rate anxiety attacks, put herself in the emergency room, right? And I taught her this simple thing. She texted me one day. She goes, I think I'm about to have a panic attack. And I just texted her back a couple simple tips. Like 30 minutes later, she texted me back. She's like, "Oh my God, that worked. Anyone want to know? Anyone want to know what the steps are?" So here's how we're going to describe it. Most people are stuck in force. They're stuck in depression and anxiety because most people bring a knife to a gunfight. Like imagine that. You're going to get in a fight to the death with somebody and you bring a knife and they bring a gun. How's that going to go work out for you? You're like, oh, and you wonder why you lose that fight every single time. You're like, I don't understand. I'm like, well, because you're bringing a knife to a gunfight. Okay. Right. So here's um here's the simple steps. Okay. First, when we have negative emotions, maybe you're understanding flow state better, but you notice you've been out of flow. You're like, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." First of all, selflessness, right? First of all, don't put guilt and shame on yourself when you notice, oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm this, I'm that. It's just an emotion. Does that make sense? The emotional state doesn't get to tell you your value. So you go, oh, interesting. I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm in a funk, I'm unproductive. No problem. We're just going to take that. We're going to put it aside. Does that make sense? We're just going to sit it over there and it doesn't get to trash talk me, right? Here. So the next thing is to realize this. And, Tony Robbins, who I love, I've listened to him for years and years. One thing he says over and over and over is the quality of your state, physical state, the quality of your physical state determines the quality of your entire life. The quality of your physical state determines the quality of your entire life. So the reason most people bring a knife to a gunfight is because you'll experience something, you'll allow it to impact your emotions, you allow it to impact what you're worth, But here's the next very dangerous step. Then that emotion then informs your physical states. Okay. What do I mean? How you're standing, moving, breathing, countenance on your face, all that, right? So I can look at someone 20 yards away. I can go, oh, they're confident, they're depressed, they're anxious, they're terrified. Why? Because their physical body. Does that make sense? Right. So I have a negative emotion, then I allow, without noticing it, I allow my physiology to come into alignment and agreement with the original negative emotion, right? Like have frustration in business. I'm like, "Ugh, I'm anxious. I might not totally do this, but almost, does that make sense? I'm like, I'm scared this is going to happen, or I'm depressed, you know? And what will happen is your physical body, based on how you move it, will produce biochemistry, brain chemistry, to agree and come in alignment and to support the original negative emotion, right? So we got the negative emotion, the negative state, the biochemistry to support it. And here I come along going, I'm just trying to be happy, but it's not working. Yeah, you can get your butt handed to you like over and over and over. And your inability to beat the depression, anxiety, the funk, whatever, your inability to beat it then forms a new identity.
So you're saying that we should fight emotions with emotions, or we shouldn't fight emotions with emotions.
Not initially. The first simple step is to number one, don't let the presence of emotions form your value. So just set them aside. Two, the most useful thing is change your physical state. Go fishing, go for a walk, exercise, stand like Superman, Superwoman. That makes sense?
Do you guys know the Superman pose?
Right.
You can type in the chat. If you don't, there's a really, really short TED Talk you can watch on it. But if you stand with your feet about a foot apart, hands on your hips, chest out for 2 minutes, the physiology, chemistry, state, everything changes.
And if you maintain that Superman pose, one thing it does is it increases testosterone, right? Guess what? If you do that, if you're interested, you want business, right? Like you want people to buy from you, follow you, hire you, join you, right? Calm, confident energy and physiology, hormones, physical state. That's why people buy from you, right? You're telling somebody about your prospect, maybe even just over the phone, and you're like, uh, hopefully they'll say yes. And I won't be embarrassed that they rejected me. You say one thing and it doesn't work. Someone else says the exact same thing. And like, well, yes, I want to join your team. See what I mean? That's why the quality of your state determines the quality of your life. Here's two interesting examples. So we don't there's no expectation to have the to do maintain this 100% of the time. That's a big misconception. Most people look at someone dramatically successful and they go, well, they don't have bad days. And so when I have a bad day, it disqualifies me from a beautiful future because people with beautiful futures, they don't have bad days like I have bad days. See the problem? Right? One of my mentors,
We have a question. The first thing is don't beat yourself up when you find yourself in a state that you don't like or that's not where you want to be.
right? Measure it. Oh, look, I am aware that I'm depressed, anxious, fearful, have no hope. Hmm. My those presence of those emotions don't dictate my future or tell me what I'm worth. See, right? So here's a great example. In network marketing, there's a gentleman named Jeff Olson, and Jeff is known in the industry as the millionaire maker. He has been the keynote closing speaker at the Direct Sales Association for infinite number of years, right? And he started a company called Nerium. And in under 5 years, Nerium did $1 billion of cumulative sales, under 5 years, debt-free, privately held company. Just the definition of crushing it in business. And he's one of the most organized together people like you could possibly meet, right? Here's the interesting thing. He says, often people ask me, Jeff, do you ever get into a funk? Anyone on here ever get in a funk? Raise your hand if occasionally you get in a funk, right? He goes, people assume that I don't ever get in a funk because they're like, well, you can't build $1 billion company if you're ever vulnerable to the funk. He goes, he goes, I do get in a funk. He goes, but, but I treat it differently than you do when it shows up. What does he do? Right? The funk shows up. He's in a funk. He's like, hey, old friend, how are you doing? To see you. I know you won't be staying around very long. You never do. Interesting. That presence of it, he's like, whatever. You show up, you leave. You can't trash. You can't tell me my future. You never even hang out very long. See, interesting. So David Bird, who was Jeff Olson's leadership coach, maybe one of the best leadership coaches in the world. He said it used to be I would get in a like frustrated, down emotions, whatever, and he goes, I'd be stuck there for days. And then I got better and I got it down to maybe one day. And then I'd be stuck there for maybe just a couple hours. He goes, I've whittled it down to about 15 minutes. He goes, something bad happens. I'm like, go ahead, have a total epic pity party meltdown. That's fine. You've got 15 minutes to get yourself act back together. See what I mean?
Yep. So if you're taking notes, I hope you have written down where do I get my worth? And it needs to be attached to something permanent, right? And I'm sure Stephen gave you some really good ways to anchor into that. And then with timelessness, you're writing down, who's in charge, right? Effortlessness, there's infinite depth you can go on any one of these, but if you have these written down as a reference point, you can simply bring yourself back into alignment.
So everybody do the motions. Step one, what is it? Selflessness is see your on fingers on your heart. Yeah, because it's your value and it goes like this, right? Good. Selflessness, timelessness. What's that motion? The wrist. Who's in charge of your time? Oh, you happen to be in charge of your time. Awesome. Selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness. You're frustrated. Maybe it could be easy, right? And above all, richness to receive. Does that make sense? Receiving, receiving. Right. So let's talk briefly about effortlessness. And what I want you to take out of this in the future, I want you to be super grateful for the emotion of frustration. Frustration. Why? When your low oil pressure light goes off on your car, are you super grateful for this emotion, for this light? Anyone like, oh, thank God they programmed that in. Why? Because ding, 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 ding. Oh, hold on, pull the car over. We got to change, do something right now, right? Or how about this? You're driving somewhere you've never been before, and you've got the voice prompt on your GPS, and the woman starts telling you, make a legal U-turn, make a legal U-turn. It keeps on saying that, make a legal U-turn. You're like, you're being very bossy. How about you mind your own business? Like, no, you're like, you're grateful for that. Does that make sense? You're like, oh, well, thank you for pointing that out, right? Here's the deal. Frustration can be the same thing, right? Most people, you misinterpret frustration. You get frustrated, you're like, oh my God. And you interpret it as this. I'm not sure I have what it takes. I'm not sure I can handle this. I'm not sure things will work out, but I'm going to simply move forward with the same mindset and same approach because I don't know what else to do. You're so frustrated, right? What if frustration was like ding, 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 ding? You're doing it the hard way. Maybe you should make a legal U-turn because you're missing the easier way to do it. Here's a phrase everyone I've done coaching for and training for knows by heart. And this is the one you want to write down. How come, how come it was, past tense, how come it was so easy to, whatever, how come it was so easy? How come it was so easy to hit the next rank in my business? How come it was so easy to get in shape? Right? It's the right questions. Most people, what they do is they ask the wrong questions. Man, why do I keep failing at this business? DP, thanks for coming. How come it's so hard for me to do this? Why am I so depressed?
Why me? Why me? Why do these things always happen to me?
Why does it always happen to me?
What's wrong with me? Why did it happen? Yeah.
Why is no one buying from me? Why does no one want to be in business with me? Oops. Here's we're doing another Tony Robbins example. Tony Robbins decides he wants to learn how to drive race cars. He goes to a place, they hook you up, they put you in a car with an instructor sitting next to you, and the car is set up so it'll very easily slide on the pavement because you got to get used to like handling the car and super cool maneuvers, right? So he goes, all of a sudden we find ourselves sliding sideways. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to hit this guardrail. That'd be bad, right? The instructor's in the car. The instructor doesn't want to hit the guardrail either. What does the instructor, so the instructor reaches over, what does the instructor grab? Type it into the chat. What does the instructor grab? Fix this, because there's something bad's about to happen. The controls? Nope. What does he grab? The wheel? Nope. Not the controls, not the wheels, not the handbrake. Nope. Alex. Alex said it. He's heard this story before. She's heard this story before. He reaches over, grabs his helmet, right? Yanks it. So he's looking at where he wants to go. When he looks at where he wants to go, he goes, I automatically steered myself out of the situation. The question, the questions you ask yourself determine where you're going. Same way with skiing. Exactly. I'm skiing out of bounds. Like, what am I going to stare at all the large trees that I don't want to hit? Like, oops, right? You know, like imagine you're golfing with me and you are like a professional golfer, like really, really good. And you know, yeah, Steve, he's got this amazing swing and the ball goes straight, like wow, boom, straight into the sand trap every single time. And one day you're embarrassed to even ask this. You're like, okay, I should not even have to ask this, but are you even looking at the tee and the green when you hit the ball? I'm like, no, man, I freaking hate those sand traps. I've got my eye on that stupid sand trap and I can't figure out why I keep on going in the sand trap every single time. He's like, oh my God, why are you staring at the sand trap asking the wrong questions? Why don't you ask the right questions and stare at the tee? Does that make sense? So frustration, how do you fix frustration? With the right questions and the right expectation. Okay. I'll give you, here's a great personal example, right? 2002, 2008-ish, you remember when the whole world economy went down the toilet? Remember that year? Like my personal economy also down the toilet. Like we walk away from her, like we're not making the mortgage payment, credit card payments. Let's not get the car repossessed. And we buy a $4,500 Airstream travel trailer. I overpaid for that thing, by the way. And load all our three children and 90-pound dog and the cat, and we just start traveling because I have a little bit of residual income, right? Well, we get to Wisconsin, and the 1973 Airstream is having trailer wiring issues. And I don't know if you know, like tra trailer wiring, they're all in series. So like you could have 20 lights in a row. One of them has a bad connection, but you don't know which one, and none of them work, right? So you have to fix it can be quite complicated, especially if it's old and rusty. Anyways, but I am not a quitter. And I spend like 3 days on YouTube and on forums and crawling around in the dirt underneath the Airstream. And I'm like, I don't, it's beating my head for days. I'm just keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm keep going. Right. Finally, one day, um, I'm like done. Does that make sense? I'm like, I'm worn out. Right.
This takes longer for smart people. Steve's, you know what I mean?
I am like, I can fix it and I'm not a quitter. So when I get frustrated, I keep going.
This is a guy who solved a Rubik's Cube within the first like hour and a half of getting one when they first came out.
As a young cat, I'm like, I didn't even let go of that thing until I fixed it. Hours. It took me at least 2.5 hours, I think.
Okay.
Anyways. So on 3 days, I'm like, I am worn out. So you know what? I go for a walk, and on my walk, remember changing my state, physical state, and on my walk, I just kind of go like this. I go, you know what? I just say a simple prayer. I go, you know what, God? You can handle this. And as soon as I did that, the into my consciousness drops the schematic of like exactly how to fix it. I was so angry. Why? Because I'm like, I could have done that 3 days ago, right? And that prayer is something I learned years before. Someone taught me that years before, but I had to apply it again. Does that make sense? And again, and again, right? So frustration, it's like if you're stuck in frustration, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that timeless, footless step. Okay, here's an important indicator of how um, of being in flow state. People in flow have a hedonic calendar. What is that? What's a hedonic calendar? You know what a hedonic calendar is? It means they schedule fun and enjoyment as an act of responsibility. Yeah. So oftentimes I'll be talking to clients, people I'm coaching, I'm like, so what do you do for fun? They're like, the what? What is this fun you speak of? I have problems to solve. We're not having fun. See the problem? I'm going to stay stuck in frustration. Getting out of frustration and enjoying life, that would be irresponsible because when I'm in frustration, that's responsible. See the problem? Oops. Well, good luck. You're going to go around the same mountain over and over. Why is this never fixed? How is like, right? Selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness.
I'm going to say a word on effortlessness. Um, I do think our culture glorifies um, this feeling of working hard. And I would say it's not
You're
just
a
the
boss
US.
babe.
Yeah, it's not just in the US either. It's like, oh, you came across a problem, why didn't you work harder? You came across like, oh, you're real, I can see that you're working hard in your life and really glorifying having no time. This whole thing of, oh, the busy people, they're the important people. If someone isn't busy, they're a slacker. There's a bunch of kind of things built into our culture. Um, and the same with selflessness. Oh, if you're not doing what other people need you to do for them, you're a bad person, right? If right. And so there's a lot of insidious sort of counter programming that as you start to look into this, you'll be able to flip.
Yeah. So we are not saying don't work hard.
Be lazy. No, we're not saying.
If you're working hard, is it enjoyable? Does it feel playful? Is it fun? Is it productive? Does that make sense? Like,
Don't let working hard become a substitute for being in flow and optimizing your life.
so
Do
you,
not get addicted to the feeling of working hard because then you'll satisfy your ego and you'll satisfy yourself culturally, right? But you won't reach heights that you've never reached before.
yeah. So like, hey, you want to work 14 hours a day? If you're in flow, go for it. Like, man, time flew by. I was having so much fun. I forget to eat. It's amazing. I can't wait to get up in the morning. And you bing like 6 a.m. You're like, I gotta get out of bed. I gotta get to work. I'm so excited. So we're not talking about not working hard.
I'll say when you're wholehearted, there's almost no limits to what you can accomplish, right? So we will
Um,
touch on that a little bit.
absolutely. So selflessness, do the motions. I want to see the motions. Selflessness, timelessness. What's that one? All right. Effortlessness, richness. Here's an interesting one. So this woman calls me once and she's like, God told me to do body code sessions with you until I'm better. I'm like, okay, nice to have like a divine endorsement, but I'm like, what's going on with you? Like, I'm a little leery of this situation. She goes, well, she goes, I sleep maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours a night for the past almost 2 years. I'm like, oh, that's not good, right? That's very bad. She goes, now listen to her language. I don't understand what else I need to do to get better. I eat the perfect raw food vegan diet. I take all the right supplements. I pray and ask God what I should do, and I do everything God tells me to do. And I don't understand what else I need to do to get better. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting, right? So the body code is it's an app and it has different categories, subcategories, right? And you just kind of muscle test, is it over here, is it over there? And it could endless different options, right? So I'm like, well, I'm just going to neutrally muscle test what first comes up on the body code and see what comes up. And at first it goes to misalignments. And I look at misalignments, and I assumed, oh, it'll go over to the nervous system. No, it goes to skeletal misalignments, appendicular, upper limbs, both radius bones, right? So your radius bones you have a radius bone and the ulna. The ulna is the outside one. The radius is the one connected nearest to your thumb. Everyone follow me, right? And both radius bones. I'm like, what kind of crazy crap am I making up? Your radius bones have got zero to do with sleep. Does that make sense? But I'm like, I'm neutral and I just keep going, no, that's it. That's it. And I'm like, what is this deal with this? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I knew exactly what it was, right? So if you look at her conversation was like this. Her conversation was, she's like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. It's like, yeah, but healing is a gift and you have to receive it as a gift. You don't earn it. And how do you receive a gift like this? Right. So part of being in flow is getting good at receiving things instead of constantly striving. You follow me? And I want to, so in it's very good to have clarity what flow feels like so that you can be aware of it so you can step back into it, right? So here's one simple analogy. If you're a spiritual person, like the terms mercy and grace should be something you're familiar with, right? Although a lot of times people know those terms, they don't really embody them super good. Okay. because most people are stuck in, I did this, so there's a consequence, and if I want that, the only way to get it is to perform this perfect way. You follow me? Right? But what if there was mercy and grace available to that you don't tap into? Right? So here's a simple analogy. You're driving somewhere this afternoon and you're in a hurry and you're talking on your phone, and all of a sudden, right, you're realizing you're getting pulled over by the police and you're doing like 30 miles an hour over the speed limit in a school zone, talking on your phone without wearing your seatbelt. How's that? What's that emotion? How does that hit you? Anybody? You're like, "Ugh." Aware of your very poor performance. You are aware of the pending consequences that are coming. Does that make sense? You're like, I didn't do what I needed to do. I did it wrong, and something bad is coming, and I deserve it, right? And the police officer walks up to your car and he's like, I just want to let you know right off the bat that I'm just going to give you a warning, right? How does that, how does your emotion shift? Can you feel your whole body relax? That makes sense. You're like, oh, aware of your very poor performance, right? You did it wrong. You weren't consistent. You screwed up. You made a mistake. Blah, blah. Aware of your very poor performance, somehow divine mercy, you're not getting the consequences. You follow me so far? You're like, oh, thank you. Like, thank you so much. Then he says this to you, goes, by the way, we have a very interesting community outreach program going on right now. Here's $100 Starbucks gift card. Coffee's on us this month. Have a great day. And walks away. And you're like, what? What was that? Like, you have a hard time receiving it because you're like, I don't understand what I did to deserve that. What I did to, I know this doesn't make sense to me, right? That's grace, right? And so richness has a lot to do with, can you change your philosophy and your beliefs so that you can receive mercy and grace, right? Because here's the shocking truth is that um, in life there's a lot more abundance and mercy and grace available than you take advantage of. Often it's walking right past you, right? And I want to close with this by giving you an example of this. Um, Changing your philosophy and belief will radically change every part of your life, because one thing it will do is it will allow you to take advantage of more things that have already been available to you. Okay. So remember we said the number one driver in human performance is to operate 100% in alignment with your identity, right? So the problem with it is that you think your version of reality is accurate, and it is not accurate at all. Like, what are we talking about? Here's a simple question. What seems simple? With what organ do you see? With Put the answer in the chat. With what organ do you actually see? The brain. You people are so smart. It was like the brain, the brain, the brain. Yes, you're right. So here's the problem. Um, your conscious mind, um, there's so much information is flowing at you all the time that to survive in life, your brain has to make shortcuts, right? So the information comes in and your brain compares it against your subconscious beliefs. Life is, I am, people are. If what comes in doesn't match your subconscious beliefs, your brain will ignore it or pervert it to match it, right? Some people, their brains don't make shortcuts. It's very rare, but it causes some super weird problems. For example, My wife, we've been married how many years? 28? What?
He'll be 30 in June.
No way. So, um, if I shaved my beard without telling my wife, she may be like, "Huh, you shaved your beard, right?"
I did that one.
If her brain didn't make shortcuts, she would not recognize me. You're like, that sounds insane. Literally, there's people like that. It happens to them. They're like, stranger danger. Like, no, no, honey, you don't recognize me. Like, we think it's funny. Why? We think it's funny because our brain makes shortcuts, right? So, researchers did research and they asked for two groups of people. And they said, we want people who think they are lucky, and we want other people who think they are unlucky. And often people put themselves in one or two categories, right? Oh, yeah, things off. I don't know why this happens to me. Things just don't, blah, blah, blah. No one seems to like me, blah, 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 blah. Right. So the study was this. We'll pick on Wayne. Wayne, thank you for participating in our study. Here's what we want you to do. Here's a newspaper, Wayne. All you need to do is just look through the newspaper, count how many pictures in the newspaper. That's it. Super simple. Wayne's like, I can do that. What he doesn't know is I put two additional written items in the paper. One says, there's 43 pictures. You can stop counting now. Thank you. The other one says, congratulations, you have won $250. Tell the researcher now, right? Guess what? Only the people who thought they were lucky saw either one of those things. And they think that's reality. They're like, oh, people don't like this. Things don't work out for me. That's super hard product to sell. The price is too high. Everyone gives me a problem. That makes sense? Those things never work out, right? So here's a crazy example from my own life. So my oldest sister, she's 11 years older than I am, and she had a tough marriage, lots of guilt and shame, got divorced, moved to Hawaii. She dealt with some pretty serious depression. And one of the things she believed is people don't think that I'm worth investing in for a relationship. People don't think I'm worth investing in for a relationship. And you need connection and community to survive in life, right? So she moved um, closer to us from Hawaii, closer to us in Texas. And um, look, we could go to church together for 5 years and we would never talk. And you might think I don't actively don't like you because I'm not very outgoing. My wife, completely opposite. So my wife had introduced my sister to a whole bunch of people, right? Over a period of weeks, months, right? One day I'm staying next to my sister after church service, and three people walk up to her while I'm standing next to her, and these three people say the same three things. They acknowledge her, they affirm her, they invite her into deeper relationship. It'd be like, Wayne, dude, it's great to see you, man. You're awesome. Dude, we should have beer sometime and get together. How would that be? You'd be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, thank you. Right. So three people did that while I'm standing next to her. Does that make sense? 20 minutes later, we're eating our burrito for lunch, and she says this to me. She goes, you know, it's really hard to make connections with people at that church. I was like, what? Like, are you on a different planet? It was her reality. Like, but Susan just asked you to go out to lunch with her. Did she? Didn't see it. Really? No, she doesn't really mean that. Oh, interesting.
Oh, my bad.
So I convinced my sister, I'm like, here's the deal. Your brain is lying to you. Question your reality. It's like complete BS. Okay. And she started questioning it, right? Well, one day she lived in a small Texas town and she's walking her dog at the state park on a Tuesday. And she meets some other ladies. They are also walking their dog on a Tuesday. And they invite her into a relationship. This time she sees it, hears it, accepts it. Thank you very much. Right. These women have been walking the dog every Tuesday and every Thursday in a small town in Texas for 20 years, and they know everybody. That was in the spring. By winter, my sister had a holiday party, her house full of people who loved her. Right. So we have to question ourselves in life and business, are we walking past opportunity? Right. We can sometimes see it. You ever have friends and someone will flirt with your friend and your friend will have no idea it happened. Does that make sense? You're like, that dude was totally flirting with you. He's totally into you. And you're like, no, no. Here I am, Miss Lonely Single Person. No one likes me. I'm like, oh my God, you're so freaking clueless. Like, why she's going, how come no one likes me? How come no one will date me? It's like, you change your reality like it's there, right? So, a lot of times, a lot of these people on here were in business, right? It's like, man, your expectation that everyone wants to join your business, that somebody out, like you're looking all the time. Does that make sense? And here's the deal. It's like in our business, literally, you have the right attitude, right expectation. You're looking around with right leadership. Like I have the right physical state, the right belief, the right mindset, the right expectation. And I'm like staying line coffee. And I turn around to the person behind me and go, hey, how's your day going? Strike up a conversation. Literally, the person could like be like, oh, dude, I'm looking for a business like that. Sign up and make me $1 million. And I hardly ever hear from them because they're too busy building their business. Right? It's like, and everyone else is like, it's so hard to recruit people. No one likes network marketing, blah, 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 blah. It's like, get in flow. Life could be much easier. Uh, I will make a disclaimer. Is it easy to get in flow? Uh, no, it's not the default. Sometimes you have a consistent knockdown, drag out fight with your pity party self, but it's worth it. So, anything,
And I think, this really applies to anybody who wants to live a wholehearted life. So think of it as an invitation into a wholehearted life and let your wholeheartedness, as far as you can gauge yourself, let that be one of your indicator lights, right? Of whether or not you need to just check back in with flow. And you start doing this, you may find, oh, it's sometimes multiple times a day that I'm making sure I'm not, you know, reeling from this incident happening to me because I thought that was where I got my value and they threatened it, right? And so, okay, hold on. If I remove my value from this, oh, it's just an incident. Can I learn something from it? Yes, no. Okay, move on. Whether the answer is yes or no, you still move on, right? Because the threat is gone of oh, this happened to me, so I have no value. Oh, wait, wait, wait. Anything that tells me I have no value is just not true, right? And so you can separate yourself from the incident, right? And get back into wholeheartedness, right? And I think that bottom line, everybody wants to live wholeheartedly.
it should feel playful, fun, playful, easy. If it's not, what's the question you ask yourself? How come it was so easy to get into flow? How come it was so easy to build my business? How come it was so easy to find a new relationship, right? Versus, oh, well, there's no good men in this town. That's why why I'm single. Like, okay, you missed that dude who keeps flirting with you. You're like, oh, no one likes me. There's no good men. And you're like, yeah, no, there's opportunity everywhere. You just not cluing in on it. So I love people to unmute themselves and share what you got out of it. And I might pick somebody and ask you to repeat the 4 steps to flow, just so you know. We're going to put you on the spot.
And just try to keep in mind about 60 to 90 seconds
Yep. What was helpful and any questions?
or a takeaway.
Any
Okay.
questions and what was helpful? All right, we're going to pick somebody.
I think we
I can go. I can go.
Can you hear
Kelsey,
me?
talk.
Yeah. Yes. Hi,
Go
Samara.
ahead and share.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Kelsey, Kelsey,
You're muted.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I'm not muted. No,
She's muted.
Kelsey Hawk is not muted. That's why I picked on her.
Hmm.
All right, we're gonna pick on Wayne. Wayne Pritchard, what do you get out of this? What questions do you have?
Uh, no questions. It was just really, really
No,
because I
for
made
some
no
reason we
notes.
can't hear you, Wayne, even though you unmuted yourself.
No.
Not sure what's up with your mic.
Wow. You couldn't hear Chelsea either.
Can you hear
Could you
me?
hear
Can
me?
you guys hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Well,
Can you
I
hear
can
any
hear
of
you
us?
guys,
Let's
but
double
it
check
sounds like
on
they
our
can't hear
audio
any
and
of
make sure
us.
that we didn't
But I hear
speakers
Wayne,
in the
I hear
You
system.
guys
Kelsey.
can't hear. I hear everybody. I just can't hear. They just can't
Okay,
hear
I think
us.
that's on us. Somebody say
It
something.
Hi.
is on you.
No,
It
hold on a
is
second
on you.
here.
It is on you.
Uh,
It is on you. It is on you. It is. It is. It is. Did you
Okay,
get it? Okay. You got
sorry,
it?
there we go.
Okay. Okay.
Wayne, go for it.
Kelsey was
Sorry,
talking.
my speaker was not working.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I made no notes because it's recorded, so I'm going to watch it again because I need to listen and then I'll watch again and take notes. That's how I try to take it in. But what I got from that really was it's interesting because lots of that I've done before, but it's good to have a recap from my years and years before with network marketing and stuff. But it was more of an internal look on myself, which was fascinating to kind of revisit. Like professionally, I'm successful, have been, to the point I don't work anymore. And I just turned 50, and it was like a big milestone. Don't want to work after 50, so I've stopped, and that's it. And then the interesting bit is it's something similar, but it's like I'm 50, I'm successful, I'm a good guy, I'm kind, and blah, blah, blah. Still single. And it's like, why? I know my worth is way higher than anybody else's. I know I'm a really good person. I just have not met that person. And I've done the look, look, look. I've done the don't look, don't look. And nobody can tell me why they just don't get it and I don't get it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking myself with this kind of Zoom. Really interesting.
You
Thank you.
can't. There's people there.
Awesome. I love it. Um, should we share really quickly on vision?
Kelsey, share first.
Kelsey, are you going to share something? And I want to come back with a suggestion for Wayne that's worked. And I want to tell clients on how to do this. All I ask is that they send me an invitation to their wedding, which I won't come to, but I like getting the invitations. So, Kelsey, go for
Chloe,
it.
Yeah,
do
I
it.
would just say that this is very new to me, and this is just, it feels revolutionary. It feels light. It
You
feels like
silly.
something I want to follow up on and learn how to do. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and kind of that type A high achiever person, and most of my life has been about just try harder, just work harder. I have debt I'm trying to get rid of. I have a lot of student loan debt and I've just been circling that mountain and like what's the way out of this? And so I just feel like this has opened up my mind to a new state of being that I really want to it's different than all my academic psychological learning, and yet it's what my spirit and my heart knows is true. So it's been like a shift, and this has just been fabulous. I feel very free. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Linda.
Linda, go for
Uh,
it.
well, first on the surface, you guys are beautiful people. I love your relationship. Your wife is gorgeous, and
I
it
married her
has.
before she realized she was a hot prospect at a young age.
So I'm really happy that we have leaders like you. And the message from both of you is pretty incredible. I broke my foot like a month ago, and I've been in and out of victimhood. Um, Even though I have so many beautiful, wonderful things in my life that come to me, I feel very rich in terms of nature, in terms of my own relationship with my husband, and in terms of all the gifts that come to me. And so I'm ready. And everything that you said is exactly what I needed to hear because I know that I'm in and out of it. I just want to be in it more and more. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you for
You know,
sharing.
Steve, your wife looks like she could be related to Lynn a lot.
When I was young, yeah. I'm about 30 or 40 years older than you. Oh, thank you.
Your hair is changing colors.
Oh, my hair is changing color. Yeah. Because of all the good things that I'm taking. One of them being the FOL, another one being the AFC. Yeah. So I'm ready for the Maxilin.
Yeah.
I'll be
Awesome.
happy when it comes. Thank you.
Jackie Phillips, my beautiful friend and rock star, energetic quantum healer.
Hello. Thank you. This is a great class. Thank you for putting it out there and letting us hop in. For me, I've done the flow stuff different times in different stages. Today, the standout was when you said the phrase about anything that tells you your worth owns you. And what came forward, like almost like a hologram, is although I've looked at those things throughout, my adult life, it never occurred to me, it just effortlessly came right out in front of me that those things that we have gotten breakthrough with, we might not react to them. But I saw that there was energy, debris, association with them that I hadn't looked any further. And so I literally asked in quantum, were there any associated things to these things that tell me my worth? Anything that tells you your worth owns you. And so I got to ask that question from the past, and it was like effortless. And I got this huge amount of data. So for women, keeping their homes and managing inventory is one of the most exhaustive, overwhelming things that we can do. And I'm currently not like a gold medal winner there. So I realized that in this flow moment that I was identifying that my not winning in my environment is actually a byproduct from the inventory management of these things that tell me my worth. So I am excited because you can win over the idea, you can decree, and you can say, no, you're not bothering me. But the effortlessness of having it come forward that there was inventory I was managing that, this is huge. It's huge for the research and the work and my clients as well. So thank you.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Anyone else have a comment? Then I want to, since this is recorded, I want to share one of my favorite things. Melanie,
Yes.
go for it.
Is this flow the same as your emotion code work? Is
No,
it the
emotion
same?
code just simply means to track down and reset emotions, kind of blown emotional fuses. That specific emotion code work, the work I do with clients, involves muscle testing, like exactly what's stopping you from getting in flow and making it easier. So, yeah. So
Well, this is
emotion
a
code,
different
this is specifically not an emotion code, but generally this integrates with what I do with clients. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, Steve, I got a comment about what you're saying. You know, looking back on a person's life, and you're talking about the flow and resistance and your self-worth, like say in terms of opportunities I had with women, I'm thinking, looking back, I'm like, oh God, I'm not good looking enough. I probably want a better body. I need to get myself more perfect, and I'll get there eventually. And it never happens because you're searching for something in the future that doesn't exist in the present. When you get there, it's always in the future. So I figured, for what you're talking about, if you think about in present time, where am I at now? and what do I need to achieve in terms of flow and acceptance and where I'm at personally, you get it to where a realization, oh, this is where I'm at. So I may not be perfect, but I'm good enough to where I think I can get to where I want to go.
Love it. Awesome. Let's do this. Let's share about vision really quick. And Wayne, you want to play and participate in this? We'll pick on you. Awesome. So we will. Okay. All right. So this would be a great example and one I love getting results with. Where do you live, Wayne?
North Wales, UK.
North Wales, UK. So I hear that there is do you like beer, Wayne?
No. I like wine.
Like wine. So I hear there's an actual bar in London, and across the back of the bar is a sign, and the sign says free beer tomorrow. If we like beer, what should we do?
We'll go.
We'll go. We'll go tomorrow. Right. Awesome. What does the sign say tomorrow?
Free beer tomorrow.
Well, we showed up for the free beer. They're like, yeah, it's tomorrow. We're like, oh,
So it never comes.
we'll be back tomorrow. They're like, tomorrow. It's like, ain't nobody getting any free beer tomorrow, right? So one of our jobs is to be in alignment. Does that make sense? In alignment. Because you can go through life in one of two ways. You can allow your current circumstances and environment to impact what you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing, or you can use your God-given imagination and corresponding accurate emotion, and so clearly see and feel the desired end results with such clarity of detail and emotion that much of your being thinks it's already happened, and you allow the vision to impact what you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing, right? So we started this off by talking about my mom's experience with cancer, right? And what did she do? She got clear and she created a vision. What was her vision? 2 cancer cells at a time are constantly healing themselves, right? She allowed that vision to inform her emotions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't let anything else influence her, right? So, for example, there was a woman. Anyone know what the UFC is? Ultimate Fighting Championship. Anyways, it's like a combat sport type thing. You do it in a ring. Anyways, so women do it also. And in the US, there was a woman, her name was Miesha Tate. And Miesha Tate wins the women's UFC championship. Whatever. She wins. After she wins, Joe Rogan is interviewing her in the ring. Like, Miesha, how's it feel to be the new women's UFC championship? Joe, I'm so grateful, blah, 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 whatever. So he has her on the podcast afterwards. And he asks her, how did it feel? How did it feel to win and be the new UFC championship? No, that's not what he asked her. He asked her this. He said, how did it feel for me to interview you after you won? He specifically asked her that. How did it feel for me to interview you after you won? She says this, Joe, I had so clearly imagined it so many times that when you did interview me, I didn't know if it was real or not. Right. So what we're talking about is a goal is much different than a vision. A goal would be Wayne's like, oh, I would like to be married. It's a wonderful goal. Right. Often when you ask people, what's your vision? They go, well, I want to be married. I go, cool. That's not a vision. That's a goal. Right. So for example, one thing you might say, and you can do anything you want. Well, let's put it this way. You want to be married because you think that if you were married, it would make you feel a certain way. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe what we do is we shift to very deliberately having such a clear vision that there are very strong emotions in alignment with the vision. And if done properly, your vision should give you much of the benefits before it shows up. Misha Tate, she was like, is this a real interview? Why? Because so you understand she had the benefit of winning the championship before she won the championship. Right? So sometimes, for example, in your situation, I've had clients do this very simple vision. Does that make sense? Right. You're walking on the beach. I go, Wayne, what's your vision? You're like, well, I'm walking on the beach. I'm holding hands. You could tell me the weather. Are you barefoot, sandals? Which way are you going? Like, does that make sense? How fit do you feel? How happy do you feel? And you're like, and I'm holding hands with this person, and their hand fits perfectly into my hand, just like they fit perfectly. And it all seemed to come together so easy. And you're walking down the beach and you're going, man, how come this ended up being so easy? How come it was so easy? Right. And so you become, one way to describe it is you become pregnant. To have a clear vision is to become pregnant with something. Okay. Like we have 3 amazing kids. It was amazing. We're happy to be pregnant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If my wife said to me, oh, honey, I love this baby. She's like super pregnant, right? She goes, I love this baby. I'm like, honey, I love holding and kissing babies, but where's the baby? I don't see the baby. I can't kiss it, hold it. There's no baby. She's like, okay, I understand you can't hold it, but I promise you, I am pregnant and I have a child and I love this baby, right? And I'm going to stay pregnant until I actually deliver it, and then we'll both hold the baby. Does that make sense? Yay. Neither one of our emotions go from 0 to 100 when she actually pushes the baby out. Does that make sense? Right? We have much of the benefit already. It's already very real to us, right? And so that's often for people one of the most important things to like put everything in place is to go from a goal to like get pregnant with it. Right? And you'd be shocked at how things turn out. Does that make sense? Right? Years ago, I wrote down, business-wise, I wrote down, well, actually, I'll give you another example, different, and then we're done, right? For years, my wife told me you should do coaching full time. And I don't know, like men don't listen to their wives as quickly as they should. But eventually I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna. So I had done this coaching part-time for people for years, but never full-time. Right. So I made a decision. I'm doing it. That makes sense. So I made a clear decision. Step 1, yes. Step 2, I actually got rid of a few things that felt like obligations and businesses. I'm like, I'm not, there's the wrong energy. And even I knew if I stepped away from the business, other people would be mad at me, but I was like, I can't hold on to that and receiving, it's got to go. Right. And then I decided, what could my vision be? Like what I just told you, what could my vision be that I could get pregnant with so I can deliver this? I thought for a bit. And I'm like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Can you hold this for a second? Right. And I'm like, I'm gonna imagine that it's Sunday night, right? And I don't know about everybody else, but often on Sunday night, what do? You go, I wonder what my week's gonna look like. Does that make sense? What is my week gonna look like? And in my imagination, I pulled up my Google Calendar phone on week views. That makes sense. This is all in my imagination. Closed eyes, imagining this. And in my imagination, I see my Google Calendar and I see all these appointments on there. Does that make sense? I'm like, oh my God, I've got like lots of appointments this week with clients, right? And in my imagination, literally, I counted every single appointment. I'm like, see, 2 on Monday. I got 1, 2, 3 on Tuesday. 2, 2. Literally counted everyone until I got to Saturday, and there were 18. I'm like, what, 18 appointments? Like that's 18, 36, 72. That's about, at the time I was charging like $100 a session. I'm like, it's like $7,000 a month. I'm like, I think at the time, I'm like, I think I could take care of my family on that. And that felt good. So the feeling is a secret. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I can feel it. That means I'm in alignment with it. I'm like, and I'm doing meaningful work for meaningful pay. That felt good too. And I'm not working 60 hours a week. Huh. I could have like hobbies. What? It's amazing, right? That felt good too. Then what did I do? The magic question we keep on hammering home. I asked myself, I'm looking at it and I go, how come that ended up being so easy? How come this was so easy to create? It was, past tense, so easy to create. How come it was so easy to create? So I'm asking that question. This specific, very clear answer is what I'm asking my brain to deliver a specific, clear answer to. Does that make sense? Right?
Yep.
And I kept on meditating, kept on answering, and I got 3 ideas. And I implemented those 3 ideas. And in 2 months, I had a full-time coaching business. I had the benefit of it before it showed up because my vision was clear enough that the vision impacted what I was thinking, feeling, saying, and doing. Right. So you can 100%, we can do it for your business, for a relationship, for whatever, but it's clarity. Does that make sense? How aligned am I? Are my emotions aligned? And what I'm thinking aligned? Am I asking the right questions? Right. So, anyways, anything you want to add?
It really boils down to asking the right questions.
Yep.
That's a
Be alignment, point that beautiful brain and everything, a spirit in the right direction. Right. And by the way, Wayne, here's one great thing. Have you ever heard of convergence?
I've not looked into it, so I've heard the word.
It just means people kind of figure out what they're actually supposed to do with their life and they get busy with it and what they're good at. Yeah. What do you think the average age of convergence is when people figure out what they should be doing with their life?
Too late, to be honest. Well, I was
when do you
47
think?
when I said enough's enough, and I quit my job, went self-employed same as you, within 2 months. I was literally working 6 days a week, self-employed, and the plan was to retire at 50, and that was from about the age of 10, and I actually retired at 49.
Someone says age 25. The average age of convergence, when you find out what you're meant to do and it's like amazing and life comes together, the average age 55. When everything gets beautiful.
Probably when you're mortgage free, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. So awesome. Any quick questions? We're right about 90 minutes, and that's plenty of time for people's butts to be sitting on one spot. Huh?
No, thank you very much. I've learned quite a bit.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for playing, Wayne.
All right. Awesome. Any questions? Do you have a document on this? Yeah, what I'll do, Jackie, is I will upload this to YouTube, then I will grab the transcript, then I'll shove it through ChatGPT, and I'll make a nice little workbook out of this.
Hey, Steve, is there any other methods for muscle testing on yourself besides balance?
Sure. If you send me a reminder, I'll send you a whole course on how to muscle test.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Super fun. We enjoyed this, and we'll do it again in the future and keep revisiting it over and over. So awesome. Have a amazing weekend, all you wonderful people. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.